Um, so let me explain the final first before we go on with the rest of what we're going to do today. So we're going to do a little thinking like a research activity in groups. And then we'll do a little Kahoot. And I was going to explain the final exam, but I'm going to do that now so that you can get a good idea of what the final is going to look like. So the final exam, let me go to week 15 because I'm showing everything and you can't see this yet. So first you're going to have the actual, the multiple choice kind of exam. And that's going to be next Wednesday during class time. You'll have from 4 to 7 to complete it. Now, what I have added to that, that's a shorter exam because what I've added is extended response because qualitative research is more of an understanding of the big idea than a memorizing of all these facts. With quantitative, you had so many different types of statistical words and, a lot of things to memorize. With qualitatives, it's less to memorize and more to understand. So there's an extended response. So you're going to first do those questions. I forget how many there are. I'll look it up for you so you see. So you'll answer those questions and here it says 30 questions, 2 points each. Okay. So, and I gave you here some links to the slides and told you which slide. These are the things that are on that. So you don't have to go and study every single thing. These are the things. Make sure you know what purposeful sampling is. Make sure you know the research process, the steps. Make sure you know the different research lenses. And here's the slides. The types of qualitative studies, the data analysis process, and the difference between priori and generative codes. So that tells you exactly what to study and gives you content that you can look at to see what to study. Here are the two presentations that you can look at, but these are specific slides within those two presentations. Okay, so for study purposes, this will help you. Okay, now when it comes to extended response, that's going to be worth 40 points. You're going to pick 2 of these. You could pick 3 for extra credit if you wanted to. So these aren't the exact questions, but you need to, one of the questions is you need to be able to describe the strengths and weaknesses of qualitative research. You need to be able to describe the process of analyzing data that a qualitative researcher goes through, be able to explain in detail how qualitative researchers build trustworthiness and transferability in their studies. And one of them is be able to make an argument for why qualitative research is important and needed. Many times, quantitative researchers will poo-poo qualitative research. They'll make a comment and say how, it's not as important or it's not as good. So here I want you to argue with them and, explain why qualitative research is needed and why it's important. So you're going to pick 2 of those, but you could pick a third if you wanted. Okay. So now what questions do you have about that? What's happening? This is next Wednesday at 4 o'clock. You're going to be given a document to do this. I want you to do it right then and there and not wait several days. So you're going to do this Wednesday night. Pick 2. And my thinking is that I want it to be off the top of your head, not off of notes. That's why I'm asking you to do it right in class. But you can look at these ahead of time and make notes, like bulleted notes, so you have in mind which 2 you're going to answer and what you want to talk about. Okay. So now questions from you.
How long do those extended responses have to be? Or what are you kind of looking
for? I'm thinking like a couple of paragraphs. You just have to include everything that's in there. So if I ask you about the strengths and weaknesses, I don't just want one strength and one weakness, really convince me that you understand. So Juliet says she has another final that Wednesday at 3:30. And someone else had a situation. Who else was it that emailed me today? I can't remember off the top of my head. He had a situation that you wouldn't be available from 4 to 7 next week.
I think that was me.
Okay. Jenna, okay. All right, so the two of you talk to me after class and we will arrange for you to do this. I want you to do it all in one sitting, but you don't have to do it from 4 to 7. We'll figure out another day and time that you can sit and do this, okay? Anyone else that needs a different day and time, stay after class today so we can figure out what that day and time is, and I'll set up that window of 3 hours for you to do this. Okay, other questions?
Yeah, I have a question just in regards to the 40 points and the 2 questions. You'll provide the article that we're gonna review is at the time.
This isn't for an article yet. This is just the final exam. Then what, this is just part 1. You're still going to read an article, but that's not this. This is part 1 of your final exam. The other part of your final exam is you're going to do an article. You'll have a week to do that.
Okay, so we're not talking about strengths and weaknesses specific to an article that we're gonna read.
No.
For this part of the
Strength and-
exam, we're just gonna
Yes.
discuss in detail about strengths and weakness, one of these.
Of qualitative research itself.
Okay, gotcha.
I want you to show me that you understand qualitative research and its value.
Okay,
Okay, by picking 2 of these.
okay.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, in addition to this is going to happen next Wednesday. You're going to have a week to do your final qualitative analysis. Here are your, there's these articles that are already there for you to choose from, or you can choose one now. I was going to have it not available till next Wednesday because you were going to be doing that other article for me between now and next Wednesday. But since some of you may choose to not do that, I will make this available starting today so that you'll have really 2 weeks to do it. So those of you who want to get it done early can get it done early and you can start working on it now. Those of you who aren't comfortable doing it yet, then you will do this article from today. Discourse analysis article. It's kind of an interesting one. It's about using TikTok and OCD. I think it's a fun article. But so that, if you're working on that, you probably won't want to work on the final exam one until you're done with that and you get feedback. But those of you who are ready for this, I'll change this date to today. Okay, other questions now about anything on the final exam?
While we're waiting, Dr. Cook, I just had a quick question. So we're meeting for class next week, but then the week after we're just submitting, like we don't have class, do we?
Right, we don't have class. You just have a week to submit your final analysis. Okay, so this is our last official class, and then on Wednesday, we don't need to meet in Zoom. This will be open next Wednesday for you to do your exam and this extended response. I will be available though if you have any questions. So what I can do is I can go in the Zoom room so that if you have questions, you can come in Zoom and ask me questions. But if you don't, you can just click on this, then click on this. What you're going to do is you're going to open this document and make a copy of it, just so you see. This is the actual extended response. I want you to choose file and make a copy. And the one thing that's really important with this is make sure when you make your copy that you share it with anyone. You share it here. Click the share and make sure you click anyone with the link can edit so I can give you feedback. So here, when this comes up, see how it's restricted? If you just give me that link, I won't be able to look at your document. So make sure you click this anyone with the link, copy this link, and that's what you're going to hand in here.
Wait, that still said viewer. Just so that people are aware, you have to click
Yes.
edit
Oh,
and not viewer.
anyone with a link can be editor. Okay. If I can't write on it, I can still leave you feedback in the comments, but this would be helpful because then I can write right on your document. Okay, so that's that process. And let me just tell you this also. The reason that I want it to be in a Google Doc is I don't think it's going to be a problem with anyone in this class, but I've changed the way I do things. So we had a conversation, some of us had a conversation in class last week at the end. There's a lot going on with AI right now, and I did have someone last year use AI to submit her answers into for a final exam. And so I changed the way I do things so that that won't happen. And when you use a Google document, you can't, if you copy and paste, I can see that you copied and pasted. And just you're going to be typing on it, and I can see you typed it and when you typed it. And it's not because I don't trust any of you, because I don't think any of you would do this, but this is just the way I'm doing business now because of this AI. And making sure that, and that's why I want you to do it during class, is to write on the document, write in class and hand it in to me. Otherwise, it would be easy to just ask Google these questions and then answer them. But I want to know if you know it. You know, that's the purpose of the exam, so that you can demonstrate your understanding. So please, you know, type in what you're thinking. Okay, so we have one activity to do now. What we're going to do is we're going to act like a qualitative researcher, and you're going to, again, go through those steps of what the qualitative researcher goes through. So I'm going to put you into 5 groups. So 3 in a group. And then you're going to, if you're in room 1, you're going to be group A. If you're in room 2, you're going to be group B, etc. Room 3, room 4, room 5. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at this set, and this is, everyone can write on this. So you can talk to each other and have one person do the writing, however you want to do it. But as a group, you're going to talk about it. So the study process is to develop a research question, choose a purposeful sample, choose a type for the study, collect your data, analyze your data, and draw conclusions. This is a picture example of those steps. Ask your question, pick your people, decide on what kind of study, collect your data, analyze your data, and come up with your insights. So you're going to have a question. I already came up with the question for you. Then you're going to pick your sample. Then you're going to say what kind of study you're doing, and then you're going to explain how you collect the data. So as a group, you're going to do that. So let me open up, and let's see, for group E, that is Emily, Emma, and Jenna. So tell us about your thinking. So the question is, how might social media influence the stigma of mental health? So I'll let you, the 3 of you, decide who's going to talk and in what order.
I can start.
Okay.
We were kind of thinking, since we know that social media plays obviously a bigger and bigger role for younger generations, we wanted to kind of look at a heterogeneous mix across generations to kind of give them like a survey kind of about mental health and stigma and what that looks like for them. And we were also thinking about, like, within each generation, those who use social media more or less, like what the differences there might be as well.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. And so you said, so now talk to me about the type of study.
So we thought about 2 different types of studies, because we're looking at the group, like the heterogeneous mix of the different generations. We figured that would be an ethnography. But we also thought we could do a discourse analysis because it is about social media. So we could look at different posts and see what kind of things people are posting there.
I like it. You got triangulation going on there, huh? So you could talk to the people and look at posts. Good. And now let's talk about your how you're going to collect your data.
So we decided to do an open-ended survey. We can ask a lot of questions and kind of get a good baseline with this. We can ask more specifically, what is how much, like Jenna mentioned, how much social media usage in a day do you have? And you can actually find those statistics through your phone. So it
Mhm.
kind of sets a really good standardized base. And then you can ask more and get into kind of like themes with each one, almost like
Mhm.
this, the article we just read last week. You can kind of ask more about what is the exposure, what's the misinformation you feel like you get down, and then how do the algorithms differ between platforms, kind of like that, and how one might express certain views more than the other, and kind of which ones you use. You can get really specific or
Yeah.
really open-ended.
I think you should do this study. It would be so fascinating. Awesome.
Thank you.
It would really add to what we already know about this question. So great job on your plan for the study. All right, let's look at room 4 now, group D. So we have Allison, Everett, and Taji. So talk to us. You three decide who's going to talk first. Who's in your sample?
I could do the sample if that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so we tried to do undergraduate students between the age of 18 and 21. We chose to use two groups, them one being well, they're both in community college or state college, one being involved in extracurriculars like club sports, clubs or Greek life, others being the other group being one group and not involved in extracurriculars. We chose the community college or state college route because we wanted the population of students who weren't in the private schools like the Ivy League type of deal, where
Okay.
students are more like again, I don't know how to put it, but like you know what I'm trying to say, like
The not Ivy League ones.
right, the non-Ivy League type college student, more traditional state school
Yeah.
college type deal.
All right, that'll be interesting. So what kind of study are you going to be doing with this? So someone else from this group, Everett or Allison, want to take it from there?
I can take that one. So we elaborated on this a little bit more in the next slide, but we would like to do a phenomenological study, which would allow us to identify themes and sub-themes to compare the groups and explore what are we seeing that is similar, what are we seeing that is different between the groups, and just kind of explore more about what each group is noticing and experiencing.
Okay, so you're going to do these focus groups.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Everett, can you add anything? They did a good job explaining this. Is there something you might want to add to this?
That's the gist of that, and just having the two focus groups of having one with individuals who are involved in, at least one type of extracurricular, and a focus group with another group of people who were involved in no extracurriculars at all.
Okay, and this would be really interesting because you can kind of do a compare and contrast thing there when you get their data. All right, good. All right, let's go to group 3 now. And that was Alex, Juliet, Corey, and Sam. Whoever wants to go first.
I guess I can go first. So we were going to look at high school students. So it would be high school students most likely in one school or maybe a couple schools, but so it would be mainly a homogeneous sample of people looking at the effect of social media on that age group.
Okay, good. All right, what about what type of study? Who can take it from there?
I can do it. Yeah, so we kind of chosen a more like narrative inquiry, narrative kind of study for this, just so that, we be able to go through, the participant statements and such and try to interpret a lot of their answers to try to get like, a better meaning of what they're trying to say instead of doing something like an ethnography where we would be putting ourselves into like more of that high school culture instead of just, kind of just taking it and deciphering it.
Okay, so yeah, so it's an interview, but a
Mhm.
really in-depth interview with a lot of follow-up questions, huh?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know, Sam. I don't know how you could do a follow-up questions. You're too shy.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. All right. Who's going to take it from there? Corey or Juliet?
Yeah, I can talk about this one. So to go along with the narrative, we were going to do three things. So we were going to do the interview, the focus group, and the open-ended survey, just so
Okay.
we get as much information as possible and really have like a discussion with them is what we were thinking.
Now, this would be fascinating. You'd have a lot of data.
Yes, that was the goal.
Yeah, and I like how you triangulated here too, because you have the focus group. So it's that's an interview, but with more than one person. So you can get a bunch of people, and then you do that individual interview that can be more in depth. And then you have this open-ended survey that you can give to lots of students. So you really can start with a bigger sample and then go to a smaller sample with a focus group or groups and then in some individuals. It might be interesting with that just thinking about that, the exercise is thinking like a research. It might be fun to do a focus group. And then if you get one character that really has a lot to say, pull that person and do an interview with them,
Yeah.
find out, hey, we want to talk to this person more, So good. Let's see. Juliet, do you have something else to add?
No, I think they kind of said everything we had discussed. So
Okay. All right. Good. Good job for that group. Now let's go to group 2. That is Jodilyn, Mary, and Peyton. And whoever wants to start us off here.
I can start off if you want. We changed the question because I thought we were supposed to do a research question too. So if you wanted to go to slide 4, and we just said that we made the question.
Okay.
How might behavioral health professionals treating adolescents view social media influence and the stigma of mental health? And so then our sample, we pick behavioral health professionals for adolescents. So I believe that would be homogeneous because they would share similar characteristics.
Okay. Good. All right, let's look at now what type of study it's going to be.
The type of study that this could be is sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. It could be a case. We selected a case study of a group of behavioral health professionals.
Okay. All right, Peyton, can you take it from there?
Yes, so we did which I was not as familiar with research, but Ragav, he was also in our group, and so I thought case studies were just for an individual person, but we could also do a group. So we chose to do the case study just because we're going to look at the specific group of mental health professionals that work with adolescents. Kind of like Mary said, they're going to be all a similar group, and they're all going to be working with a population that uses social media.
Okay, good. All right, that's going to be interesting. All right, Jody, then take it from there. How are you collecting your data?
So we chose 3 different ways that we potentially could. So interview, text, and observation. We thought that these 3 would give us as much information as possible in comparison to how the mental health professional observes their client, because likely if they're going and seeking mental health advice, they would have an inside look. Obviously you have to be careful with client confidentiality there, but we thought this would give us as much information as possible to start to see those themes.
Good. I like how you thought of, so you have triangulation, but you also thought ahead. You're thinking like a researcher. And if you're observing, if they're giving advice to someone or they're working with someone, the idea of client confidentiality would be a challenge to get through the I'm having a senior moment here of there's a board that you have to get your research through, but that's
Yep.
all kinds of things that you
IRB.
think about. The IRB, yes. Good, thank you. Yeah, so you have to so once you plan your whole research, you have to submit it to the internal review board and they have to say yes or no, and they're looking out for the participants and making sure that they're going to be safe and confidentiality is going to be safe and whatever. So it's not that you couldn't do the observation, but you'd have to jump through some major hoops to do the observation. You'd have to get permission from the person and let them know that they aren't being observed. But you could do it. It's just that you'd have to have a lot of work on it. And so this is all the process that a researcher has to go through. So I'm glad you brought that up because it's not so cut and dry, simple. You think of these ideas, and then when it comes to reality, it might be different. Like when I did my research, I was doing it on 8th graders and in discussion forums about they were reading short stories and they were discussing them in a discussion forum. And first of all, when it came to the IRB in the school system, I couldn't. The students had to volunteer, which was fine. But all the 8th graders were doing it. So it wasn't a question of doing it. They were all doing it, but whether or not I could collect their data, they had to volunteer. And the second thing is it couldn't be for a grade, which was a problem because you tell 8th graders this doesn't count as a grade and they don't take it seriously. So I don't think my data was very valid because it was just so, a lot of students didn't really participate or they didn't take it seriously because it wasn't for a grade. So that IRB thing is big. All right, thank you. Let's go to room 1 now. And this was Julia, Kayla, Pleasure, and Sterling. So whoever wants to start us out here.
I can go first. Okay, so we chose heterogeneous groups because of middle schoolers in typical public schools. We find that a heterogeneous group is good because we get variations with races, socioeconomic status, and genders to see if it impacts one side more than the other. And yeah, we just kept it simple with public schools as opposed to private.
Yeah.
Oh, and particularly middle schoolers, because as they go through puberty with social media, it's more likely to impact them the way it does to people who grew up before the internet or those who are too young to even know what it is.
Yeah, good. That makes sense. Okay, someone else take it from here. What kind of study?
I'll do this part. Okay. So we wanted to do a phenomenological study, and then the document and discourse analysis. So do some kind of like focus group, and then we want to do like analyzing like social media posts on top of hearing what people have to say directly, kind of thing.
All right. I'm so impressed that so many groups have triangulation of data here. Good, thanks, Kayla. All right, how about, look, you even have the word triangulation. Good, who's going to take it from here? How are you collecting your data?
Okay, I'll do that. So we decided, although she has already said something about that, but we decided to use the focus groups because it's more like you can get more information, like gathering, and you gather like a group of people, can be able to see their expressions and develop your themes from that. And we also want to like make use of the documents using social media posts. So
okay, good, because I can hear, the conversation that you had as a group, why not just picking focus groups, but you had a reason for picking focus groups. And it makes sense. You want to see their interactions. You want to see their facial expressions. Good. All right. Well, congratulations, you all were thinking like a researcher. You went through some of the steps. We just couldn't go through the collecting data step. So we didn't have enough time, but good job on that. Let's see, where are we now? So the one thing I want to do is just show you this study. Again, for those of you who maybe came in a couple minutes late, this is going to be optional and worth an extra 20 points if you want extra credit. And the reason you would do this is if you felt like you needed to do another qualitative analysis and get more feedback, or if you just need extra credit. So this article, I think it's really interesting. It's called I'm So OCD, a content analysis of how women portray OCD. And so this is like the document analysis, but they call it content analysis because they were actually looking at TikTok videos. And so I have here, for those of you who are going to do it, I went into details about what to make sure you include, but I did want to show a couple of these videos. So the kind of videos they looked for, and they analyzed the videos. I thought it would be interesting to just show a couple, and maybe you will want to look at that study. So
what fake OCD looks like.
Okay, so the study itself is looking at, how mental health, what you were just talking about, how mental health is portrayed, how the women on TikTok portray OCD, whether it helps us or hurts our understanding of OCD. And for those who have OCD, is this helpful to them that this content is out there, or is it hurtful to them? So let's look at this girl. It's 43-second
Part
video.
4. I have a really bad OCD because my necklace clip is at the bottom and it has to be at the top. I get really triggered, Marissa, okay? What real OCD looks like. Okay, you put your necklace on, just don't touch it. Don't touch it. I have to because I touched it with my right hand and not my left hand. So let me just, there we go. Okay, perfect. No, now this has to be in the middle of my chest. Okay, I'm just gonna move it back over. I have to put it this way. I have to do it 3 times. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3 to the left, and then down, and then up. Okay, now everybody's safe in my family. No, I need to spin it around my entire head. Okay, let me just put it around the back, and then I'll bring it to the.
Okay, so interesting. And then this one, real versus fake. So these were a couple of the themes they found, real versus fake OCDs. Okay. There's a couple more here.
Three things I didn't realize were related to OCD until I was diagnosed. 1, oversharing. I would feel the need to share every detail about every thought. Otherwise, I would think that I was lying, and I would feel incredibly guilty for being dishonest and manipulative. 2, thinking and feeling like everybody hated me, whether it was a friend, a family member, a partner, or a pet. I would have this nagging sensation that everybody hated me, was annoyed with me, or that I was offending them. And 3, having a hard time letting go of things, whether it was something I did or said, old clothing or belongings, or a past relationship. I would have a really hard time letting those things go. I'm curious if you've experienced any of these in your own life. Let me know in the comments and follow me here for more OCD related content.
Okay, so from someone who is actually diagnosed with OCD. And this last one here.
Everything in Q's entire house has its own special place and must be precisely measured, exactly positioned.
I do measure with fingers and lines and things like that. They are on certain angles. From the first line of the dog's paw there, I'm very happy that when it's that line there, perfect, it's okay. In the living room, it's be cottages, your open control boxes. Everything in this house is going to be perfect. It could take up to 10 to 15 minutes just to put a pack of bacon in the fridge, but it's actually got to be at the sides. This is the way my rituals are. These ornaments, or any item in the house, is not in a perfect position. My anxiety is really bad.
Unfortunately for Hugh, his anxiety is really bad, quite often. And keeping everything in the house perfect isn't easy, living with the other 5 members of his family. There are sons Michael and Mark, wife Maureen, and daughter Joanne, whose learning difficulties mean Hugh and Maureen have even more childcare responsibilities with grandson Julian.
Where's your kids? God love you. Love you for bed, so we.
Hugh's rituals can last for up to 18 hours a day. It's exhausting, but he's driven by an all-consuming fear.
If I don't do these rituals, I find great harm when I go to my children.
Okay, so he thinks he has to do this or his children are going to be harmed. So there's a couple more, but I think you get the idea. So this study is really interesting because it talks about the different what happens on social media. And if you do the study, really pay attention to the results. We have minimizing OCD symptoms. So some of the TikToks really minimized symptoms and kind of made it be like this fun, oh, I have OCD, like she was saying. Some that just talk about cleanliness and organization, and that's OCD, which it isn't just that. There's some that accurately depict OCD. There's some that are trying to correct misunderstandings, and there's some that share obsessive fears. So it's just a really interesting study. So if you want to do that, you're welcome to do that. Just have it in by next Wednesday. And let me know if you have any questions with that. So that's all I had for today, but I want to stay here with anyone who has a problem with the timing next week from 4 to 7 is your final exam. So you're going to open up week 15 final exam, open this up, do that 30 questions, and then open up the extended responses and pick 2 out of the 4. And then you'll be able to finish that up. You have a total of 3 hours. I'm sure you're not going to need 3 hours to do that. You'll probably be done within an hour. And this, I already opened this up, so you should be able to see this now. So you can start this whenever you want. It's going to be due a week from Wednesday, or a week from Sunday. It's due May 16th, whenever that is, okay? And so let me know if you have any questions with that. So if you have, I just wanted to say before everyone leaves, because next week I'm going to be in the Zoom room. If anyone has trouble, come in the Zoom room and I'll answer your questions. Otherwise, I won't see you next week. So I wanted to say what a pleasure it was working with all of you this semester. And I just wish you the best. I almost wish there was a part 2 to this class so I can continue working with you. But maybe I'll see you again. I do teach other classes for the department. So maybe I'll see you in another class. But I wish you the best, and please let me know if you have any questions for the exam. And, all the best to you.